I'm Rhonda. I'm the Education Manager here at Sawgrass, and welcome to our Tuesday session of Learn with Sawgrass. Today we're going to take a deep dive into VersiFlex, which is our new decorating system. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about it and kind of go through some of the points that may help you decide whether you want or need a VersiFlex system or not. And so we're going to go through that today. We're going to do a couple of projects and we're going to have a lot of fun. Just a little bit of housekeeping to get started. Rhodes is with us. He will be in the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If you're watching this video later after it's not live, that's okay too. We'll make sure and answer any questions you have. So please feel free to put them in the chat and we will help you with those. We do these sessions every Tuesday and Wednesday, so Tuesday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern and then Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow morning's session, we're actually going to look at both sides. We're going to look at some of my favorite products to make with sublimation and then some of my favorite products to make with the VersiFlex lighting or VersiFlex ink with the VersiFlex light paper. And so now let's just kind of jump in and talk a little bit about VersiFlex. So stepping back, as you probably know, Sawgrass is a company that is over 35 years old. We do manufacture printing ink. Up to this point, it's been just sublimation ink, and we do that right here in our building. We are in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, so right outside of Charleston, and we actually do that right on the other side of this wall behind me. And so ink is what we have always done. So this new system is based on our new VersiFlex ink. So the VersiFlex ink does work with our SG500 and our SG1000 printers. Same printers that you've used your Sublejet ink, your Caesar Easy Subli ink, and your Chromoblast ink in for years. You can use the VersiFlex ink in there. Now, just to state, it does need to be a brand new printer. You cannot take a printer that has one of those inks and switch it over or convert it to the VersiFlex ink. It does need to be a brand new printer. But that brand new printer with that ink is going to be able to do two different things. When you use it with a sublimation transfer paper like our Trupix paper, you can do your traditional sublimation. Nothing changes there. You're using the VersiFlex ink with the sublimation transfer paper to do your traditional sublimation. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going to show you both sublimation and VersiFlex projects, and I'll be using the VersiFlex ink for both. But you will see that you can do what you've always done. But in addition, by changing out the paper, you can now do those things that have always been off limits. So off limits meaning it does not have that poly coating that you need for sublimation. So the big one being cotton fabric, and so you can now do cotton t-shirts, but almost any fabric will work with our VersiFlex light paper, whether that is chiffon, whether that is felt, whether that is chenille, or any of those. You can do that. Denim is another one of my favorites. And then of course, any of those products that do not have that poly coating. So in particular, my personal favorite is wood. So any of the woods, unglazed ceramics, all of that is now, you're able to do it as well when you switch out that paper. So simply by changing the paper between the sublimation transfer paper and the VersiFlex light paper, now you are able to do both your traditional sublimation and now to go on to all of those other products as well. Now, what do those products not entail? What's kind of off limits? Well, we still do not have a white ink. So you are still looking at products that are lights, whites, and brights. And then of course, it has to be porous. So the question I have always gotten is, can I buy a mug at the Dollar Tree and sublimate onto it? And the answer was always no, because it doesn't have the poly coating. So if you ask me the same question, can I now use the VersiFlex light paper on it? Unfortunately, no, that still is too smooth of a surface for it to bond with. So your tumblers, your uncoated tumblers that don't have the poly, your mugs that don't have the poly, you still can't do those, and you can't do fabrics that are dark. So your maroons, your burgundies, your hunter green, your navy, your black, you still cannot do those. So we're looking at lights and brights and whites. And then we are looking at a whole range of fabrics. And then anything that is not coated but is porous will work as well. So we do have both a wood sample today, and then we have a shirt we're going to do too. So we're going to dive in and do those products, and then we'll talk about whether VersiFlex may be right for you. So a couple of things about the VersiFlex system before we jump in and do those projects. The first being, this is what we are calling CMYE. So you will notice that it has the cyan, the magenta, and the yellow. And then what would normally be your black ink channel has now been replaced by the expander. So that expander gets laid down with the ink when you are doing anything on the VersiFlex light paper, and that is what helps it to bond with the product. And so where there are other systems out there like direct to film, where you have to use powders and other things after you've done the printing, you don't have to do this here. You print on the paper, you put it down. With that expander, it is self-weeding, so only areas of ink are bonding with the fabric or the product, so you don't have to worry about any extra areas or anything like that. That's how that works. Now, you're going to say, but Rhonda, you said CMY, how do you get black? Well, black is what we call a composite, meaning it is created by the C, M, and the Y. Now, our black has always been created by the C, the M, and the Y. The K does kind of went in there to kind of help it, but we've been able to reproduce that very closely just by better control over the C, the M, and the Y. So you are getting really solid blacks. You're going to see that in what we're designing today. And so those are kind of the big key points, and then I'm going to give you my tips and tricks as we go through to kind of help you understand VersiFlex a little bit better. And so we're going to go ahead and jump in. So I am on the Sawgrass website. If you have not seen it, if you go to products and you go to the VersiFlex system, you can learn more about this product. One of my favorite things is looking at the product gallery. We've kind of laid out some products that you can make, whether you're making for them, for yourself, or whether you're selling them. You can see a whole range, both the fabric items, apparel items that you can do with the VersiFlex. Now, some of them, like the slides, sandals, and the socks, are traditional sublimation, but things like this nylon bag, this denim, the t-shirts, and even the cotton hats and totes are all things done with the VersiFlex ink, with the VersiFlex light paper. This is home decor, one of my personal favorites, because the wide variety of textiles that are used here, as well as the wood signs and some of these others as well. Again, a good mix of both the sublimation and the VersiFlex that you can do with that VersiFlex ink. Here's some kitchen and dining items. If you haven't seen it a couple of weeks ago, I did a great, I feel great, session about ways that you can use VersiFlex in party and event planning, and so a lot of this would be in that too. And then some promotional items as well, because one of the great benefits of having the printer, whether you're using our SubliJet ink and just doing traditional sublimation, or whether you're doing both the sublimation and the VersiFlex projects with the VersiFlex ink, either way, if you have a business, it allows you to do small runs. So if you wanted to do water bottles, you don't have to order 500 or 100. You can do 5. Same thing if you have a small staff and you want to make shirts. You're not having to order a large number. You can do that short run of 5 or 10 yourself when you need them. So it's just a great way to do promotional items. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into my Sawgrass. We're actually going to start with the wood product today because that's what I have the press set up for, and then we'll switch it over to do the fabric. Now I am doing I call it a wood slice, so it does have the bark around the edge. I think they make fantastic coasters. And I will sneak peek you and say you're probably going to see some of those on our website soon because great minds think alike. But we're going to do one of those today. But I did measure it. It is very similar in size to our regular coasters. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. Rhodes, have we had any questions or comments?
We have a hello from Miriam, Lori, and Joel.
Some of my favorite people are watching along today. So I know this round hardboard coaster is close in size, so we'll go ahead and use that one. Here you go, Rhonda, how do you know the size? I'm going to hit the little I next to the product name in our design tool. I'm going to scroll down and it's going to tell me both the regular size and then with that bleed area around it. I'm going to go into designs. If you saw me last week, I talked about the filter function and how that's one of my favorites. Really helps me quickly to get to where I want to look. And I'm going to go into the home section. We have recently added some new designs, so please be on the lookout for those. Some home body designs that you're seeing in home as well. Anything with that diamond icon is going to be our premium content. So that is for our My Sawgrass Plus members. That is currently $12.95 per month if you want to use any of that artwork. If you were to add it and you didn't have it, it will prompt you to upgrade. So I really love this design. I did notice earlier that it has a background on it, so I'm going to lasso it, bring it down to neatly fit in my area. And then I am going to click over here on background delete and delete that background, take it to a pure white. All right. Now I am going to take where this address is, hopefully. There we go. And I'm going to change it. Now I was having an issue earlier with the font. I am simply going to change that to another font that I do like. Hit done. And change that. Alright, that fits. And I'm just going to hit print. That is one of the beauties of our designs is you can customize them, whether it's as simple as changing out the address that were there or changing the address to something else. Like in this case, I did change it to a last name. You can do that because I do think these little rounds make really great coasters. We're going to hit print on that and send that over to our Sawgrass print utility. All right. We're going to give that just a minute to print out. I do have my press set up. I will show you when we get into the print utility where you can see those print settings. So if I go up to my help menu, you will notice that I can open the press guide. This is for both the VersiFlex, and it does have the sublegend on the next page as well. So I will be able to do that and look at my sublegend settings. But you will see for my uncoated wood, I'm going to do 375 for 30 seconds. I'm going to keep that at kind of a low end of medium. A lot of this is going to be feel. I will tell you, this is a new product. It is something that is going to be different from sublimation. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. There has been for me. I do practice everything I do, or try to do most of what I'm going to do, especially if I haven't done that particular product before, just to make sure I'm good. So you will have some little mistakes along the way. I'll give you tips and tricks to help you with those. Learning pressure on your press is one of the biggest things you can do. And so this is, like I said, going to be kind of on the low end of medium. I've kind of learned to feel that out and figure out what that feels like. Typically what I would say is there's not a lot of resistance when you're pushing down on the press. If it just closes and it doesn't feel like there's any resistance at all, that's low. So as I start to crank it about a half turn and get a little bit of resistance, I know that's closer to medium. And so that's where we are right now. So there is my file. I'm ready to go. As you've seen me do, I always like to crop to image area, remove any extra white. I'm actually going to leave it on there because I do like it a little further away from the edge for this particular one. But it's so small, I don't like to center it. So I'm going to leave it up there. I'm not going to crop to image area today. I can leave this portrait, no issue. This is going to be black in color, so I don't need to adjust for those light colors. So I'll turn that off. I'm not going to center it. It does need to be mirrored. And then I'm just going to go down here and change this to uncoated wood. Everything else is exactly the way it needs to be. You notice if you change the product, if that paper type needs to change, it will change it. I'm going to go back up to my color management, change this to vivid, just to make this a little more saturated. I could do this on my grayscale too, but really don't need to. And I'm just going to hit print. Now you will notice my printer probably looks a little different than your printer, and that's because I do have an option tray. Since we are doing the two paper types, we are doing both the VersiFlex paper and the TruePix paper, we went ahead and added an option tray. If you want to learn more about the option tray, there is a brand new quick tip video by Rhodes that you can check out that kind of explains how to add that. But it is a really useful tray for this situation. I'm going to grab my scissors. When dealing with wood, I find that it's better to not have a whole lot of extra paper. So I'm just going to cut this down to make my life easier. And I am ready to go. Alright, so I'm going to open the press, get my wood slice ready to go. And this one I can easily center, just dropping that on there. I am doing my hover. I'm kind of have my hands over it. So get that right where I want it, drop it. It does go on wet. So you are noticing I just printed this. It doesn't have to be immediate. You have about 10 minutes. But one of the questions we get a lot is about repositioning it. You saw I didn't really have to. Just kind of hold it over, get it exactly where you want it, and then you drop it. And now I'm going to close my press. Get my glove ready to go. So just so you can understand the behind the scenes, our office mascot is visiting today. We do have our little pup in-house, and he keeps coming to the window and staring at me. So that's been a little fun addition to the video today, or to the workshop today. All right, now you do want to peel this relatively quick. So what I generally do is I just put my glove down on it. Look at that. I'm really excited. All right. Check out that wood coaster. Is that not the coolest? That's a really great design to have those. Very rustic. I did the other week when I talked about party planners. I talked about wedding. For a rustic wedding, a barn wedding, this would be great. But really cute for your house.
Show it a little bit closer to the camera. There you go, perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
There you go. Isn't that amazing? These I actually picked up at Michael's, a little 4-pack. I've picked up some off of Amazon too. But isn't that great? Lindsay, our content director, our marketing director, said that she is using these with some fall designs that she's doing. But I think they're just so great. Rhodes, you have a new coaster?
I'm excited.
Yes. All right. Let's move on and talk about shirts.
We do have a question real quick, Rhonda.
Yeah.
Lou is asking if we are going to be coming out with a mug paper size for VersiFlex. I figured you'd want to answer that.
Yes. Lou, we are actually, I was actually technically supposed to ask you, so I'm going to take that as a yes from you. We're actually going to do what in US size would be the equivalent of a half page. So it's going to be like a 5.5 by 8.5. So give you a little bit more room than a mug paper, but a lot smaller, which is great for things like my coaster. Especially, you know, this one I probably could have done 2 or 3 at the same time within that 10 minutes with no issue. Because the press time is so short. So I could have put multiples on the page. But for those situations where you can't or you don't even need to, that half page size is coming soon. All right. So here in the US, we are coming up on Father's Day. So tomorrow, act surprised, but you're going to see a lot of Father's Day projects. And we're going to go ahead and make a Father's Day shirt because one of our designs I think would just be really cool for that. Now, a lot of times when I'm designing, when I'm doing shirts, I will just go to the blank sheets because to me, filling the paper is going to be more important than anything else. So I will often use that 8.5 by 11 for this. I think for this particular one, I think the landscape's gonna work better. Now watch, I actually picked a design that isn't landscape, but I think it is. So we'll go ahead and do that. You can, we do an apparel, we do have shirts. And so you can use that too. I just find since I'm doing an 8.5 by 11 sheet, it's just easier to fill the sheet. So I'm going to go to my designs. And I'm going to filter. And I am actually looking specifically at our dad content. We do have some great new Father's Day designs that were added recently, so make sure to check those out. But I'm going to go for one that we've had for a while, but that I really enjoy. And I may have gone right past it, so I'll go back if I did. Nope, I didn't. And joke's on me, it's kind of round, so I could have done this either way. All right. So I'm going to send this over to the print utility and let this sit for just a minute because I want to do one other thing while we are here. So I'm going to go ahead and send that on over and let that sit in the print utility. Alrighty, we're gonna give that just a second to send. If you're not getting that pop-up, because we do have some people I know who are new into the program, you do need to make sure when you hit print that you are seeing that pop up to open it. All right, that's over there. That's ready to go. We're going to go back. Close that. And then I'm going to get rid of some of this. And you'll see why in a second. Alright, so my fish is white. I'm actually going to click on this fish, and then I'm going to come over to here where I can choose the white. I'm going to change that to another color. I think I'm going to go, I'm just kind of picking. I'm not being particular. If I were, I could of course try to match the color that was in the original design. What's the easiest way to do that? Leave the little blue bubble up so I can make sure and match it. But I know the person I'm making for is not going to get mad at me if it's not an exact match, thankfully. So we're going to go with that. But I'm going to go kind of with that sky blue because I thought it was pretty. There we go. Make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to get it a little more in, because it's going to be kind of on the short side, I'm going to want to keep that a little bit. Alright, so that is exactly where I'd want the fish to be. About 4.5 by 2. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Now, you notice the sizing wasn't doing exactly what I wanted it to. So what I did was I clicked on the fish and I checked it and it's perfect. So if you ever have that issue where it looks like maybe the size isn't changing the way you'd want it to, you can always do that. I could change this text. I'm going to leave it the same as what's going to be on the back of the shirt. So this is going to go on the front, and then on the back it'll have the other. I could, because I'm making this for a specific person, change it to their name. But he would probably make fun of me if his shirt said his name, so we're going to leave that off. Know your audience. In this case, know who you're giving the gift to. Alright, so we're going to send that over to, there you go. Alright, so here is that design for the front of my shirt. Here is the design for the back. I am going to go ahead and set these up, but I'm not going to hit print. Why? Because I want to get my shirt set up. I want to get my press reset. So I am going to go ahead and do my settings, but I'm not going to hit the print button. Alright, so this guy, he's fine where he is. It's not really going to matter. If I use my cropped image area, it's going to put it up a little too high for my taste. So I'll just kind of trim this down a little bit when I get there. Mirrored, I do need my adjust for light colors. This makes sure that expander is being laid down on those colors that are a little closer to white that may get missed. This blue is definitely one of those. I don't need to center this. It is a cotton shirt, so everything's set and ready to go. I'll go ahead and go to my color management and change that to vivid. I'm going to go to my other design now. Same thing. Don't really need to crop it. It is very close to the middle where I'd want it to be. I'm going to make sure my adjust button is on. It is cotton. I'm just going to go ahead and change that to vivid as well. And now we're going to go set up our shirt. Now, one of the big tips that I will give you is when doing fabric, we do want to pre-press it. So I am going to pre-press my shirt. One of the things that I've gotten very good at since we've been doing shirts is laying it out on the press. Now you'll notice, I hope you can see that I did center the tag on the middle of the press. I also have enough of the collar showing that I can see it and see where that starts so that I can come down my 3 inches. You'll also see that I'm making sure that there's roughly the same amount on each side. Now this is going to be a little bit different. I am going to pull this over once I pre-press it because I am just doing that little bit here, and I'll show you how to do that. I know that I need to tighten up my press, so I'm going to go a few turns to see if that is that high pressure on that shirt. Now you see I do have a good amount of resistance, too much resistance if you ask me. That's pretty close though, but just to be safe, now that I've done my pre-press of 10 seconds, I'm probably going to go down a turn. All right. Same time and temperature, 375 for 30 seconds. And so normally with a shirt, I'm going to go about middle of the arm and over. So that little piece is going to go about right there. I'm going to go ahead and test this again just to make sure I have it set where I want it. Yeah, I'm going to go about a half turn up. Somewhere in between the two is right, I believe. Alright, so I think that's exactly where I want it to be. I'll go ahead and pull this over. We're going to do the front first. I am going to hit print on both. So just to kind of explain the pre-press. The reason I am pre-pressing the shirt is I want to make sure that any moisture gets out of the shirt. So especially now we're in summertime, this is going to be extremely important. You want to get any moisture out. The expander is water-based. You don't want that to kind of mix. So any water to kind of mess with the expander being laid down. So make sure you're doing that pre-press just about 10 seconds. You don't have to do it as high of a heat. We often don't even pull it all the way down. We just hold it on there. Now you're noticing this is wet. I don't want the two designs to fall on top of each other. So I'm going to wait till this is completely out before I do hit print on the other one. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim some of this extra paper off just to make it easier to peel. And to see where it's going on the shirt. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that right where I need it. Centering it, like I said, between the middle of the arm and that top. Dropping that down, putting some paper on top. And we'll go ahead and give that 30 seconds. All right, my other print is ready. We'll grab that very shortly. All right, we are almost there. You're noticing that I'm not using heat tape. You don't have to worry about gassing with this, and because it is going on wet, it does lay right down on there. So I'm going to do a hot peel and I'm going to do a quick peel. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip that shirt over. Now I'm going to put my paper down. I don't want that ink getting on my press. put that there. I'm going to get my shirt just like I did before, nice and centered. Alright, you do see that is nice and wet. We are going to go ahead and place that. One of the reasons I wanted to do it this way is I wanted you to see I didn't get it on there instantly. I did have to let it sit while I did the front. You see that I could definitely do both with no issue. Alright, give that 30 seconds and we are all done. So that is finishing up. Rhodes, have there been any other questions?
No other questions as of now.
Alright. Okay. Alright, now I did get a tip last week that I love, and that's for those of you who are used to peeling vinyl. You don't have to worry about peeling this, about any of the letters being left behind like you do on vinyl. So go ahead and do that a little bit faster. So one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and change that bottom piece out. And I'm going to do what we call a finishing press. So I'm going to lay this on here, make sure that the front is covered, make sure that the back is covered. And then I'm going to do a finishing press of about 10 seconds. Why do we do this? It just helps kind of flatten out any inconsistencies, anywhere the ink may not have gone down perfectly. You notice I'm just holding it. I'm not having to do as high of a pressure, so I'm not fully closing it. And then it does help with wash fastness too, from what I've been told. So it's just a cool little tip to kind of help get that good look on there. And there you go. There is my Father's Day shirt. Should have changed this to white. Probably will before I give it to them. But you can kind of see how that turned out. And there's my shirt.
Looks really
Isn't
good.
it cute? Yeah. All right. Okay, so there's kind of the basics of VersiFlex, and I did what I think are probably two of the things you're probably going to want to try if you get VersiFlex, which is that cotton shirt. You do see that you can easily do front and back with no issues. And then, of course, my lovely wood coaster. Now, we do a lot of wood that are the cutouts, the thinner wood. This is the first time I've done it with the bark around the edge, so I was really excited about how well that turned out. So, I guess where we leave this is what you should consider when you're considering if VersiFlex is right for you. So, let me go ahead and tell you, if your business or all of your crafts or sublimation, you're good with using the poly-coated products, you're good with using the polyester fabrics, keep doing what you're doing. You're in a good spot. Subligen ink is amazing and you have exactly what you need. If you're an existing user and your printer's on the older side, whether it's out of warranty and maybe has a few years on it, or whether it's one of those older models like the 400 or the 800, then this would be a good time to kind of consider whether getting a VersiFlex printer or a printer with VersiFlex ink is the right move. So who would this be perfect for? So it's really perfect for that user who wants to do both sublimation and start using those uncoated products like the wood and then the fabrics, especially that cotton. And so if you're looking to sell both, or if you're crafting and both are kind of what you need, then this is a great system because it does do both. things. It does those uncoated products and the cotton and other fabrics, as well as sublimation all in one machine. So very small footprint, as it always has been, and now you can do twice as much because you can do both types of products off of one machine. So very simple. You know, the beauty of this is there are no powders. You do not have to have additional equipment. You're using exactly what you've always used. You're using the printer and you're using the press, and then you're purchasing the products that you're going to press onto. And that's all you have to do. So while there are other ways to do similar things, this is the easiest and highest quality way to do it. I'll always stand by the quality of our inks. I'll always stand by the quality of the end product. You know, you do get a large number of washes out of this. We have done industry testing, so we have met that threshold. But what you're going to quickly learn about us is we're always very conservative with the numbers we give you. We know you can probably do more, but we know everyone will be able to do that minimum. So that's kind of where we sit with that always, is we give you the minimum, but no, you're probably going to get more. It's the same thing. You saw me give it some time in between those presses, and I was perfectly fine. So we're going to be conservative, but you still can probably push my envelope just slightly. But if you're looking for a printer where you can do both in one system, this is definitely it. It is backed by all the things you get with Sawgrass, meaning the 2-year warranty on the printer, the 2-year expiration on the ink, our wonderful support team to help you with any issues you have, and our education team. And you will see if you go to our YouTube channel, Sawgrass Inc., you are going to see a lot of content around VersiFlex, but we're still adding content on our other inks, on the printers in general, on our software as well. And of course, with the Sawgrass solution, you do get our software so that you can make sure you're getting the best results every time. So if I were you, I would think that a VersiFlex system was right for me. If I were on the other side of this and looking, because I do love doing the cotton shirts. I have had Super Bowl shirts. I have had St. Patrick's Day shirts. This week is going to see Father's Day and patriotic shirts. So making shirts has been a lot of fun for me, in addition to the wood products and then all of my normal sublimation, because I've been on a water bottle kick as of late, and everyone is getting a new water bottle. And so with the VersiFlex, I'm able to do both. So that's everything I've got. Rhodes, do we have any finishing or last minute questions?
No, we are caught up with everything.
Awesome. So again, continue. If you watch this video later, put those questions in the comments. We will make sure and get those for you. Join me again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to go through some great projects, both on VersiFlex light paper onto some of those products, and then using the VersiFlex ink for traditional sublimation as well. That's all I've got for you today. Again, I am Rhonda with the education team here at Sawgrass, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Okay. Great job.